Howdy, and welcome to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. I'm your host, Bill Sherck, the man about the woods, and I have a couple of curious guests along for today's story. This is a tale of the fishing trip that either went really well or really poorly. It depends on who you talk to. And we're going to get to the bottom of this story up on Lake Superior today. The Minnesota Bound podcast every week is presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems. You know, my family uses Connecticut and you should too. Also, Star Bank, the bank we use at Minnesota Bound, and North Dakota, where you can plan your fall hunts at legendarynd.com. And who could forget the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Okay, so this is all about a fish story, and it's kind of like Dad's dream come true. Every dad wants to take his kids fishing. I have two sons, Brady Sherck, who is 11, and Bennett Sherck, who is 9. Boys, are you out there someplace? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hello.
So, we decided we wanted to go up to Lake Superior and catch what?
Salmon. Pink salmon.
Pink salmon. At the end of every fishing season, when fall comes, the pink salmon migrate into the tributaries along the coast of Lake Superior on the Minnesota side. And when you have rain, the rivers come up and the water temperatures drop, and that signals the fish to come in. And Brady, what does it look like when you go to a stream or river where all the pink salmon are coming in? What do you see?
Well, there's tons of them, and they're all grouped up. They're all in one spot. They're not one's here and one's there. They're just plopped together.
And you like to fish for them. How do you do that? What do you fish with?
Well, I use little streamers on a fly rod, and they're sometimes very annoying because the bite, you need to annoy them. Right.
Those fish are coming in to spawn, which means they're coming in to make more pink salmon. And so they're not necessarily hungry, but when you put the right bait in front of them, they tend to eat. And Bennett, you hooked into some pretty nice pink salmon this year, right? We were all cheering for you. What is that fight like for you?
Well, it was my first time catching a pink salmon.
Yep.
And it was actually harder than it. Well, not hard, it's just not easy because you gotta get, you just gotta get into it and have the same. You just have to do the same thing every time. And what is it called?
Be consistent.
Yeah. What does it feel like, Bennett, when those fish bite and run with your fly? What's that like?
Nervous, happy, and excited. Nervous because you're nervous that it's going to get off. And excited because, you have it on. And happy because sometimes if you jerk it hard enough, well, not jerk it, but you normally catch them, and that's the best part about it.
And you take a couple of pictures and then we let them go. So, yeah, pink salmon is kind of a Sherck tradition. We always go out from the end of the brook trout season, which happens to coincide with the pink salmon runs. So here's where the story gets interesting. Your mom and I got married atop Lutsen Mountain. And we had a wedding photo taken down on a covered bridge that goes across the Poplar River. So as part of that trip we take, the one thing we have to do is go to that bridge and have our picture taken. And what happens every time we go there?
We get out the rods and go fishing right away. We don't care about any pictures.
Exactly. Because we're up on the bridge and you look down into the Poplar River and it's easy to see the fish, right?
There's like 600 of them, too.
And because it's down behind a pretty famous resort up there, Lutsen Resort, there are people all over the place. How many people were fishing there this year when we showed up?
6.
There were
6 people fishing.
Yeah, around the one hole below the bridge. And there were more people upstream, too. So the Sherck boys, let's paint a picture here. So the river below the covered bridge is probably 40 or 50 feet wide. It's right at the mouth, going into Lake Superior, and you can see the fish going in. So the boys both grab fly rods and start casting, and they both start catching, right? Fair statement?
Yep.
You guys are catching fish. And then, Brady, something happens. What happened?
What? Bennett hooks up on the ultimate fish.
Yep.
Well, sort of. I hear a back cast and I hear, oh. And I turn and look at Brady, and he's got a hook buried in his chin. And where did that hook come from?
Bennett's fly rod.
So Bennett, when this happens, what's going through your brain? What are you thinking?
Me? I'm thinking, what in the world? Am I snagged on a tree?
And so then you see that it's hooked in your brother's chin.
Yep, and then it's almost like I'm mad of myself that I did it.
So it was a surprise to everyone. Brady's got a big, black, sparkly woolly bugger, not just hooked in his chin, but buried very deeply. There are all kinds of people up on the bridge taking pictures who see this happen.
There's a wedding, so everyone was on the bridge getting their wedding pictures, and then everyone saw me, and it was kind of embarrassing.
Well, I was like, uh-oh. Brady's in shock a little bit, trying to figure out what's going on. All these anglers have seen this. And then, of course, there's Mom Sherck. Remember what she said right away?
Do you need anything? We might have to go to the ER.
Exactly. Let's go to the ER. So, there is a trick for removing hooks in this world that some people know about, a lot of people do not. Even those who know about it are a little hesitant to try it, and it's a little unnerving if you've never done it, but it is a way that you can remove a hook really of just about any size, no matter how deeply it's buried. Now, the caveat is you have to be careful. Sometimes a hook gets buried in a hand where you might be in a dangerous area where you're going to impact tendons or something like that. This is not intended to remove that, but sometimes in a chin or in the neck or in part of your hand or your thigh or your leg, it's very effective. So I walked Brady away from everyone, kind of around the corner behind the rock. Brady, did you know what was happening at that point, or were you just a little freaked out?
I was scared that I had to go in and get part of my chin cut off. So I was kind of freaking out a little bit.
Did it hurt or not really?
Well, right when it went into my chin, it kind of was a little stingy. It stung like a bee. And then after that, it just felt just a little numb. It didn't hurt, didn't feel spiky in my chin, but it just felt a little tight.
Meanwhile, Bennett, I walk your older brother off. You know something is happening. Did you know what was about to happen?
Yep. The hook was gonna get out of his chin. Go out of his chin.
So you knew I was going to do that?
Well, yeah. Because I know you, and that's what you do. What happens? You try and do it.
Dad's the master of everything.
So, Bennett, were you scared or were you nervous, upset, or just didn't really care?
Scared and nervous because I hooked. I just hooked Louis' chin, so I was just really nervous and scared and just sorry.
All right. So, there is a trick, and I'm going to tell you about it in just a second. But first, of course, we need to thank the sponsors that help make the Minnesota Bound podcast. The stories behind the stories happen every week. First off is Connecticut. Connecticut makes home water treatment systems, and the Shercks, we love Connecticut water. Fair statement, boys, right?
Yep.
See, we live in the country and we've got well water, and our Connecticut system helps clean up that water. We use a lot less salt than we used to. And then we've also got what's called the K5 drinking system. And boys, how much do you like drinking that water?
A ton, because it's just really good.
It tastes different than other water.
It's funny.
Yeah,
but you think
flavor.
It's crazy. Yeah, and you think it's crazy because some water tastes different than other water, and Connecticut water is the best water.
Yep. And if that's not enough reason to try Connecticut, I don't know what is. Our dishes are clean. We've lost that sour egg smell. Katie Sherck loves the way it makes her skin feel and how it works with her hair. So try Connecticut and tell them Bill Sherck, the man about the woods, and his fishing sons sent you. Also, the Minnesota Bound podcast happens because of North Dakota. We want you to visit North Dakota where you can bag your limit of birds this fall. And believe me, the roosters are calling right now. Pheasant hunting season is getting going, and the ringneck pheasant crowing count for the year is up quite a bit. Also, the duck numbers are up. This is the time for you to be hunting in North Dakota. I think the ringneck crowing count is up like 15% this year. And the state offers millions of acres of property for hunting. You just can't beat it. So, North Dakota, plan all of your fall hunts at North Dakota at legendarynd.com. And also, we can't forget our good friends at Star Bank.
Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? It's time to make the switch. Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Let me give you some advice from personal experience. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. From Maple Lake to Elbow Lake, Eagle Bend to Eden Prairie. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.
And one more sponsor helps make the Minnesota Bound podcast happen each week. We'd like to thank our good friends at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
The Minnesota DNR, Minnesota's wildlife management areas, are a vast array of lands across all of Minnesota. These 1,444, they're going to call them WMAs. Minnesota's wildlife management areas are valued for wildlife and Minnesotans' outdoor recreation opportunities. They maintain hunter walking trails. They plant food plots for wildlife. and develop acres and acres of prairie and grasslands. To find out more, visit Minnesota Wildlife Management Area. Go to www.mndnr.gov/WMAS.
Okay, now back to our story. So the Sherck boys, Bennett and Brady Sherck, are along with me, their dad, hanging out on the Poplar River up along Lake Superior. The fly rods are out. We are catching pink salmon that are migrating into the Poplar River when all of a sudden, thwack, Bennett throws a back cast and hooks his brother in the chin. So the hook is in Brady's chin, and we walk around a corner, and I use an old tried but true fishing trick to get the hook out. And here's what you do. You take either a very, very strong piece of braid line or heavy-duty monofilament, and you make a big loop, right? About a 10 or 12-inch loop. What I do to make sure it's strong enough, a lot of times I'll double the line over itself, and then you take that loop and you hook it over the hook that's buried. In this case, Brady, it was in the bottom of your chin. Did you ever reach down and feel it?
Yeah, I reached down and felt it in my chin with my fingers, and I kind of gave it a little tug to see if it was just kind of dangling from it, but once I tried to pull it a little bit, I gasped. It hurt.
Yeah, it wouldn't move, right?
Yeah.
So the trick is this. Once the mono or the line, the loop of line is around the hook, I was playing the role of doctor, you take two fingers and you push one on the end of the hook where the eye is, the little thing you tie the line to, and you push it up against the skin, and then the big curve, the gap, you push on that too. And what that does is it pushes the hook up against itself so that barb actually gets loose from anything. And with that mono, you always count to three. And the rule, now you know it, Brady, is you always jerk on two, not three. And you give it a taut, just snap with that mono line. And because you are pushing against that hook and releasing that barb, it just slides right out. Back against itself. That barb doesn't catch on anything and the hook slides right back out. How fast, when we did that, Brady, how fast did that happen?
Very quick. It just was like, pull it. And 1, 2, and then it was out. It hurt a little bit getting out, but in a few minutes it was just a breeze. It didn't hurt at all.
Well, yeah, you were caught off guard. You were a little surprised, right? So there were a few tears. But after having a hook buried in your neck, in your chin, how long, Bennett, till he was fishing again?
20 seconds after.
Right. Once the shock was done, it's like, oh, that's it? Did it bleed much?
No, not a lot.
Almost none, right? It is a great trick to try. And we're doing a podcast, so it's hard to be real visual about the technique. But if you go online and look up fishing line loop hook removal, there are diagrams online, there are videos on YouTube where people will actually hook themselves and then show you how to get it back out. It is a great technique, and I'm an Eagle Scout. I was a Boy Scout growing up. The motto is always be prepared. By teaching yourself the technique, you can be prepared for all kinds of instances. It's amazing. I haven't done that in years. And Brady, that happened. And literally a couple days later, I was on Mille Lacs, smallmouth fishing with a bunch of people. And the guy in the boat next to us said, Bill, I'm going to need you. He had buried a bass hook, a drop shot hook in his hand. And believe it or not, we got over to the boat. He hopped in with us. We set it up. I used the exact same technique. And that was a big hook, like a 2-aught size hook. That popped right out. Same result, happy angler, back to fishing. So, Sherck boys, we have a couple of rules when we fish because of these sorts of situations. What are they?
One is always wear
wear
sunglasses.
Yep, sunglasses, because those can protect your eyes just in case if it gets close to your eyes.
Yep, sunglasses. Have you guys ever been in a boat with somebody where clunk, they're casting and a bait hits a head?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We got lucky, right? We just happened to get lucky, and it got your chin. But sunglasses are always a rule, not just for kids, but for adults too. Wear sunglasses because they help you see fish in the water, but more importantly, they protect you from those errant hooks. What's another rule like sunglasses? What about a ball cap?
Yeah, wearing a hat of protecting.
Hat's the same thing, right? Yes, it keeps the sun off you, but it also protects part of your head from lines and baits and flies that might zing by. There are a couple of easy rules to practice in the boat. Now let's get to the fun part. Brady, how many pink salmon do you think you caught on that trip?
Oh, 20? 25?
They're pretty fun, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Because you have to, they're not going to eat because they're hungry. So when you work for them and catch them, you spent the time and worked on them. So you make yourself feel even better.
You and I went out one morning. Bet you decided to sleep in that first day. And we went to one of our favorite spots. The river was essentially dry. The water level up along the North Shore is very, very low. You were pretty disheartened because there wasn't even water going into Lake Superior, so there were no pink salmon. So what was our play? How did we find fish?
We went scouting for other little streams, and we went to a few, and they still were too low. There's not enough water so they could get in. Then we found one river that there's probably 2 inches of water where they could get in. And we got there and we're like, why aren't there any pinks? And then 1 second later, there was probably 100 pinks.
Yep, and your eyes lit up and you started casting, and boom, fish on. Now, there are some rules when you fish pinks. You have to have a valid Minnesota fishing license if you're fishing up along the North Shore. You also need a trout stamp, I believe, because you're fishing Lake Superior. And anytime you fish Lake Superior or the tributaries, you need a trout stamp. Secondly, or also, you need a single hook, right? Why can't you use baits with treble hooks?
Treble hooks, the pink salmon are just sitting there and they're trying to spawn. And if you normal fish, if you put a bait in front of them and it spooks them, they will go flying away. But the salmon will stay in their spot. They won't move after anything. So with treble hooks, if you throw a bait past them and reel it into them, you can snag them very easily and catch them fake and not do it the right way, or you could hurt them.
So that's illegal to use treble hooks. They don't want people snagging fish. So, single hook. Now, you can still use a spoon. You just have to cut 2 of the hooks off or put on a single hook. Some people throw Rapalas. Same deal. You just need to make sure it's got a single hook on it. But the magic of catching pinks in the fall is amazing. And boys, we talk about this all the time. For me to sit back as your dad and watch you guys having so much fun and hooking fish, there's nothing better in the world. You realize, Bennett, this was your first time catching pinks completely by yourself.
Yep, and I think pink salmon are really cool. And yeah, it's my first pink salmon. I caught my first pink salmon and on a fly rod. And first I wanted to use like a floating rapala, but my dad's like, nope, can't use that. You gotta use a fly rod.
How hard do they fight?
They're actually not too hard. They kind of, yeah, once you really get them, they just kind of stop.
And then you reel them in.
They're weighed down, but they're not crazy fighting. They're just big and they just weigh you down. So you just slowly have to arch them in.
Now, we've posted some pictures of you guys, or of Brady holding pink salmon. Bennett, I can't seem to ever get a picture of you holding the fish you catch.
Well, because I just think they're too slimy.
Too slimy.
Yeah, and sometimes they poop on you.
That's the glory.
Well, what? No, it's not.
There you go. That's the story. That's how it goes on Minnesota Bound, the stories behind the stories. That's as honest as it gets. Well, boys, I sure had fun on the fishing trip with you, and I hope we have a bunch of other adventures. What's our next great trip together going to be?
Well, my dad, for his birthday, got a new boat, a drift boat for the river. So that's going to be one.
We're
We
going to
go
drift
down the Mississippi.
And what are you guys hoping to catch?
Smallmouth bass, which I haven't caught one yet, and I'm dying to catch one.
Big smallmouth.
There you go. I think we have our next adventure ready to go. Boys, thanks a lot. And Bennett, I am so glad that you didn't hurt your brother permanently.
Yeah, okay.
Just be ready. I have a feeling he's going to get you back someday. So there you have it. The Sherck boys, Bennett and Brady, and the story of the fishing hook. The one that did not get away. The little brother caught the older brother. I would like to thank all of our sponsors today who helped get the Minnesota Bound podcast on the air. Of course, our good friends at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Also, North Dakota, where you can plan your fall hunt at legendarynd.com, and Starbank, the bank we use at minnesotabound.com. And of course, the presenting sponsor of the Minnesota Bound podcast, Connecticut Water Treatment Systems. Clean, safe, great tasting water. Well, that about does it for us. Until next week, thanks for listening to the podcast. And boys, do you know what we say at the end of every one of our shows?
Yep.
Say it.
Introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. See you later.